again, and welcome to a mini update on my hidden sidings project. This time, DIY back scenes. There is a full height back scene board running the whole length of the layout. This is removable and is held in place at the front by a small batten of 1x1 timber. To cover up the batten, I wanted a mini back scene of about 5 inches tall, covered in arches to match those under the Metcalfe terraced houses at the right hand end of the board. This was glued and pinned to the batten. I toyed with the idea of making some more Metcalfe arches to clad this mini back scene, but space considerations meant that they would be just too thick, so I plumped for a one-dimensional paper back scene instead. Photos were taken of the Metcalfe arches, printed out, and the outline trimmed to shape. Each arch was cut out and then glued individually to the mini back scene. Because of the batten, the mini back scene is 1 inch proud of the main back scene, which gives a rather nice 3D effect when viewed from the front. Having successfully finished the mini back scene, I thought I would produce some more back scenes, but this time for the large main back board. I wanted the large main back scene to have terraced houses in the same style as the Metcalfe terraced houses, i.e. stone effect. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any commercially available back scenes to suit, so once again I decided to make my own. I started with the area behind the Metcalfe terraced houses and photographed the rears of some of my houses. These were printed on ordinary A4 80-gram paper and using normal printer cartridges. The prints were slightly smaller than full size to try and give an impression of perspective. Each pair of houses was carefully cut out and the individual sheets glued to the back scene using rocket card glue. This was where things started to go wrong. Although I was using exactly the same method as that on the arches, the glue soaked through the paper, the ink started to bleed, and some rather unattractive pink blemishes started to appear. It may well be that the paper was too thin or the glue too runny or too thick, but the back scene was too pink and the air in my garage too blue. It was perhaps rather fortuitous that I started with this section, as most of this part of the back scene is actually hidden by the terraced houses in front of it, so it's not too obvious. Oh, and there are no prizes for spotting the chimney pot, which looks like it has been at the wrong end of a hurricane. Undaunted, I then turned my attention to the left-hand section of the back scene. Fronts and rears of my houses were photographed and printed out in different sizes to once again try and force the perspective. The outlines were carefully cut out, once again leaving no sky and trying hard not to demolish any chimney pots. They were then left whilst I pondered how to attach them to the back scene without the dreadful pink blemishes showing through. In the end, I settled for a very thin layer of good old-fashioned Yoo-hoo and trusted my luck. The staining is still there in places, but only slightly, and I don't think it's noticeable at normal viewing distance. If I were doing any more in the future, I think I would use a thicker grade of paper. I haven't applied prints to the whole of the main backboard as I'm unsure exactly what I'm doing with it all yet, but I am quite pleased with the overall effect so far, despite the problems along the way. Oh, and by the way, The question mark after the word budget in the title of this video? Well, I'd thought that making my own back scenes would be a cheaper option than buying ready-made ones. In the event, I couldn't find any that I wanted, so I had to make my own. But printer ink is not cheap, and some of the commercial offerings are very reasonably priced indeed. So if you can find some that suit your layout, it might be better to use those. Anyway, that's all for now. See you next time.